Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Boiling Point Podcast. I am your host, JD, and we are here with another West Shore School District special coverage. We got some very important information for you. We're being joined by Casey and Mariana, and on the to my left, uh, on the right side of your screen, and below us is Denise. All members of the West Shore School District, parents or grandparents of the West Shore School District. They've all been on previous episodes helping me cover this and help us all get through this. Welcome back to the Boiling Point Podcast, guys.
Thank
It's
you.
been a
Thank
little
you.
bit, so it's good to have all you guys back now. So I know there's a lot of stuff happening specifically tonight. We've done all these other episodes live. This episode is pre-recorded because right at this moment that we're speaking, there's also a school board meeting happening right now. So we did not want to go live and take anybody's attention away from that. So we're recording this now and we'll post it after the school board meeting is over. So what is happening in the immediate? What's happening right now? And then we'll talk about some of the other stuff that's going on.
Okay, well, right now we're having, of course, the board meeting at the West Shore, in which they have just voted to pass the mental health evaluation for all students, beginning with 7th through 9th. Eventually, it will be all students of the West Shore School District. Now, they'll say mental health assessment, but when you look at the questions that are going to be asked to the students, it's actually questions that you will find in an evaluation. The problem with this, okay, that the parents are having, first and foremost, we want to make something clear. We have a school board member by the name of Adam Trone. Now, Adam apparently is spreading a malicious lie that the parents that are concerned about the mental health evaluation is only 5. That the parents in the West Shore School District do not have a problem with this evaluation, which is totally false. It is more than 5, as you can see here.
We have the comments. This is his public page, so we're not going to get into any trouble for sharing the comments. It's on a public page. So yes, and clearly here he's talking to someone else saying that it's only 5 community members that have the ear of the board members.
Right. And that is incorrect. There's more than 5.
No.
Now you will see 5 coming to the meetings. And the reason for that, Jonathan, that you are seeing less and less conservative parents is because the conservative parents of the West Shore School District is highly disgusted with what we're seeing with the school board. Okay. Unfortunately, we worked our tails off, Jonathan, okay, to flip this board. And what we are seeing as of late is very disappointing. Okay.
Yes.
Outside of removing the solicitor, we still have issues like the pornography is still in the school. It's still in the library. They're bringing more in. Now, upon research, I did find out that some of these pornographic novels or graphic novels, any which way you want to call it, still porn, is entering the schools through donations. Okay, donations either from the West Shore Foundation or the public school, the public library system. So when the donations come in or from any other source, okay, the school board is not required to go through this material. They'll just go ahead and put it in the school, and they do not have to be cataloged because they were a donation. Interesting, right? Okay, now let's get back to what's happening today. What is the issue with this mental health evaluation? The issue is that the West Shore School District is in violation of the protection of pupils' rights. Okay. And if you put up the screenshot of the protection of pupil rights, that's the red and white one.
Yes. Yes. The parental. Yes.
Right. So this particular statute was put in place to protect the pupils' rights and also the parental rights of parents. So we have been asking, I did a right to know, and some other people have done rights to know also, and to see this survey. If you look at point A, it says that the parents, okay, can inspect any survey, analysis, or evaluation. But the school board is telling you that you cannot see these questions, okay, because of copyright infringement. Well, if our tax dollars are paying for it, we have the right to see it. And as per the PPRA, as you can see here, we have the right to see it. Today, we had a parent speaking, on the left saying how she used the PPRA to say, well, the parents can opt out their kids because there's been a lot of hoopla about opt in or opt out. Opt in means that the parent will give permission for their kids to participate. And if you read the Protection of People's Right, it requires the parent to give consent for these evaluations and surveys. Okay, so although here it says a parent can opt out, which is fine, okay, but parents are requesting to be able to opt in. The parents are requesting to see the survey, and both are being denied to the parents of the West Shore School District. So basically, with opting out, they're including all the kids, okay? And it's the parents' right to opt out the kids from this evaluation in order for the kid not to participate. But, you know, if you remember the history, Jonathan, of the West Shore School District, we had a situation with social emotional learning. You had to opt out your kids. How well did that go? How well did that go? The West Shore School District got sued and lost, okay? Because although they didn't want to opt out the kids, okay, even after the parents want and opt out the kids, they still have so much social emotional learning implemented in the curriculum that they're still being exposed to it. So
I want to point everybody's attention who's going to be watching this episode to Section A, all instruction material. I'm going to read this just in case there's people who are listening. Some people listen to our episodes and don't always have them on the screen. So I'm going to read some of this to some of the people who might be listening here. What we're talking about here is 20 U.S. Code 1232H, protection of pupil rights. Okay. Under Section A, that's the first thing Mariana was talking about. The inspection of instructional materials by parents or guardians. All instructional materials, including manuals, films, tapes, or other supplementary material which will be used in connection with any survey, analysis, or evaluation as part of any applicable programs, shall be available for inspection by the parents or guardians of the children. Now, for anybody who doesn't understand that, it means if they want to, if anything that they're having the kids fill out, the parents or guardians get to inspect before they hand them out to the children. That's what that means.
that's correct.
Section B, limits on survey, analysis, or evaluating. No student shall be required as part of any applicable program to submit to a survey, analysis, or evaluation that reveals information concerning one, political affiliations or beliefs of the student or the student's parents. And then it goes down a whole nother list here. 2, mental or psychological problems of the student or student's family. 3, sex behavior or attitudes. 4, illegal, antisocial, self-incriminating, or demeaning behavior. 5, critical appraisals of other individuals with whom respondents have close family relationships. 6, legally recognized privileged or analogous relationships, such as those of lawyers, physicians, and ministers. 7, religious practices, affiliations, or beliefs of the student or student's parent. Or 8, income other than that required by law to determine eligibility for participation in a program or for receiving financial assistance under such program without the prior consent of the students, if the student is an adult or an emancipated minor, or in the case of an unemancipated minor, without the prior written consent of the parent. Okay, now that was a lot of words I just threw at all of you. And basically everything that I just listed there, anything that involves any of that stuff, the school is not allowed to do. And definitely, at the very least, not allowed to do without the expressed permission of the parents. And the way I read that is, and at the bottom it says without the prior written consent of the parents, which means that they would need the parents' consent before introducing any of this.
Exactly. Now, in last month's meeting, Kelly Brent asked Dr. Stoltz, okay, our superintendent, if she wanted to see a copy of the consent form that the parent would have to sign. So now Denise, me, and Christina looked at each other when he replied because we knew he was lying. We knew. He's like, well, I don't have it immediately here, but I will email it to you to find out after I did a right to know that there has never been a consent form for parents to sign to give the permission to participate in any of this nonsense. So they have been doing it without the consent of the parent and without disclosing what the curriculums or what the surveys, okay, are actually asking our children. Now, since I did a right to know asking to see the survey and it was denied, I did my own research. And whoa, were they ever hot when they realized that I got some of it.
Do you know
Okay.
why do you know why your right to know was denied?
For the consent form, they said because they didn't have a consent form. They never used one.
So you
So they
could
can provide something that never existed.
it was denied because it never existed in the first
Exactly.
place.
So Tostos, when he was, him and Holland, and we already, because I looked at Denise looked at Christine, we all looked at each other. Okay, we knew that he was lying the moment he said, "Oh, I will email that to you." Well, he couldn't email anything because it never existed.
All
Never
right,
existed.
so if I can, how does this what we just read connect with the this that was just literally voted in by the school board tonight? This
Okay, so
that's what this is. This form is what they voted in, right?
correct. Now it's more than just this form, okay? I only gave you maybe this copy to give you an example. Now you just read, you yourself, okay? Jonathan, you yourself just read the PPRA. I'm gonna ask you a question and you tell me which one you think it violates, okay? Ready? This is one of the questions on the survey. Have you ever tried to kill yourself?
Yeah, that would definitely violate it. In fact, if you're looking on the screen right here, you can see that in the description part, in the middle section of the document here, almost every single one of them violates the parental rights. This
How often is there arguing in your home? Why is that their business?
Yeah.
The last time you had sex, did you or your partner use something to prevent pregnancy? What are your grades currently like? Are you currently attending school or planning to return in the fall? There's other questions that I've been looking for the screenshots because I have them. I took the screenshot while I was at work. I couldn't find them. I probably left in my other system. But there was a question there. Are there guns in your home? Do you feel that you can address your parents or approach your parents without fear? Are you being touched sexually? So I don't know about you, but we just read the PPRA. These are questions that are not allowed to be asked. And if you're going to ask them, the parents have to give parental consent.
Written permission.
So, exactly. So there's no parental consent form for the parent to sign. And there is, they're not allowing the parents to see the questions. And Christy addressed that tonight at the meeting. I was looking a bit of the meeting before we came on live, and she addressed that. Okay, the things have to be done. We're not saying, okay, they're spinning this. Okay, like Adam Trone, Todd Stoltz, Abigail Turney, Cambic. They're spinning this, okay, as though the conservative parents don't want mental health assistance for the students. Listen, do the students in the West Shore need mental health assistance? Some do. Okay, it's not about them getting the assistance. It's that, as Christy stated, and she stated correctly, if you are going to pass this, it has to be legal.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot go against the statutes, which is what they are doing. Okay, that is what this is about. It's not about the kids not getting assistance. And they're giving you all these stories. I mean, they're great. They got the left all together. And you should have seen the emails that came in. Am I correct, Denise? All the emails was about I want them to approve this mental health with no opt in, make it opt out, over about 17 of them. And then we had the woke mob coming in, speaking one after the other of how they want this, because what they're trying to do is say that that all the parents of the West Shore, it's in agreement with that, and they're not. Okay, so this is the issue we're having right now in the West Shore School District. Okay, is the violation of parental rights. Okay, the parents have the right to see this. The parent has the right to give consent. Okay, there are questions that you can't act that obviously you are. And if I show you, and I am going to email you, Jonathan, I'm going to email you everything that I found online, okay, about this company, down to who they report to, because they are data mining this information down to the CDC, to the WHO. Your jaw's going to drop. And their affiliations, okay? They're affiliated also with the Philadelphia Children's Hospital, Children's Hospital Philadelphia, CHOP. Okay, and then they report to somebody else, and they report to somebody else. And I'm going to email this for you to tell me where I'm wrong and what I'm saying. Now, kids in the West Shore need mental health. I mean, there are kids that do, but let's talk about that. Jonathan, let me ask you a question. If you're being bullied in school and the administrator and the administration is doing nothing about it, is it going to start a mental health issue eventually?
Yeah, yes. I would imagine it is. Yeah.
Yes. So we have, extreme bullying, okay, in the schools in the West Shore School District that they try to deny, but it's happening. Ask the parents, okay? It's happening. We have violence in the West Shore School District. We have somebody threatening to shoot up the school last year, okay? And this year, correct, in the beginning of this year, correct, okay? And the administration's done nothing. Okay, so no, we have to wait till they take this evaluation, and this evaluation is going to tell me if the kids need mental health. Listen, they're just giving you the signs right there. Number one. Number two, Tasto said in the last meeting, okay, you don't understand. You guys don't understand. There are families, and Tron was practically crying also. There are families in the West Shore. Not all the families are good. And we know of families that they are abusing their kids, and the parents are alcoholic, and they're strung out on drugs on the floor. So let me ask you, does the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have mandate reporting? So if you know this as a fact, that this is happening to your students in the West Shore, then why aren't you mandate reporting this? Yeah. Crickets. All you heard was crickets. Nobody answered the question.
And you're talking about what happened tonight at the school board meeting.
Well, I will say this. I was watching it for a while. Now, this is nothing against you, John, but in hindsight, it's always 2020. I wish we would have scheduled this podcast a different date, because we really should have been there. Not that I know if it would have made any difference or not, but much of the stuff Mariana's talking about should have been brought to light with a little more detail. Now, Christy did a good job briefly, making the point of parental rights, but she was the only speaker, as far as I knew, that actually spoke up and said this should be opt-in and not opt-out. Like the other side is very good at, getting their mobs together. But what I saw was a constant parade of emotional appeals. It was all about, I know this person, whether it was a relative or a friend, who committed suicide because they didn't get the mental health services they need. So it was all heartstring tugs, to make it all personal and emotional. And unfortunately, that's a common tactic that works, that blinds people from looking at it analytically. And that's the problem. We need to be looking at this from the big picture and consider basic facts on a collective, mass scale. Now I don't mean to sound cold, because, my heart breaks for anyone who lost a loved one because they had emotional or mental problems. I don't mean to sound cold at all. I have the utmost sympathy and empathy for them.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
But the things one thing that has to be pointed out is, number one, there's no proof that if they had something done like this, that it would have stopped them from doing it. And if you look at what the overall picture of what's happened in our schools, in our society at large over the last several decades, mental health services, in psychology and psychiatric evaluations and interventions have been on the steady increase now for decades, while at the same time, major mental health issues and emotional health issues have also been on the increase. So you got to ask yourself, if I were to hire a contractor to do some repairs in my home, or a mechanic to fix my car, and the results was not only for the problem to not be fixed, but to actually be worse, would you continue to hire that contractor? We're coming at this from a standpoint, because of all these emotional appeals, that these evaluations and mental health, intervention is an inherent good. And if anything, the factual data shows just the opposite, if not any difference at all. So we're coming at it from that perspective and adding an expense and then making it opt out instead of opt in, when there's no evidence that it would even be helpful. Also, some of these questions that are on these surveys where they would be doing the evaluation, like, have you attempted suicide? If somebody's attempted suicide, they would have already automatically, by default, had a mental health evaluation. So that question is inherently redundant, even if they don't, have any prior records for the student there at the school. And more than likely, though, if they had tried to commit suicide, they would have those records. So, and then, as Mariana was pointing out, there's so many other sinister things underneath the surface here that nobody's addressing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem here. All these emotional appeals and these anecdotal stories, not only is there no evidence that would have been turned out any difference if the students had something like this, but it completely ignores the negative factors tied into all this and what the real agenda probably is. I even heard him talking about a few different people about a friend or relative that committed suicide because they had ADHD. I mean, come on. I have severe ADHD. Not only was I diagnosed with it because I got tested for it several times, but Mariana can tell you that. I have major ADHD. At no point did I even contemplate suicide. And when I was evaluated as a child, I was put on Ritalin for a while. And the negative side effects from Ritalin were so, extensive that they were actually worse than just dealing with the ADHD, cold turkey. So that's what I ended up doing eventually. But when I got older, I said, Mom, Dad, I don't want to take this anymore. It gives me the jitters. It makes me irritable. There was a whole host of other things going on too. I said, I don't want to take this stuff. I'd rather just deal with the absent-mindedness, and I've been able to handle it well to this day. So, and again, that's I don't know what else to say on this at the moment, but that's the issue here. I'm sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay. That's fine. You're the guest. You get to talk. I need to shut up more. But what I wanted to say was, though, is that it does come down to, it might sound a little cold, but really mental health has to come down eventually to the person. You can have all the services available in the world that you want. There are lots of services available, even, maybe not as much for kids as much as it should be, or in the right ways, but at least for adults and stuff, there are so many resources out there available if you want to ask for help. And we still have suicide rates. So eventually it has to come down to self-responsibility at some point, and it has to happen at home. If there's kids with mental health, then parents need to get their kids help if that's what they need. And if the kid needs help, then kids need to also, I don't know what kind of kids from all ages. They usually don't learn this until they get a little older. And for younger kids, it's probably harder for them to say, hey, I need help.
Well, this particular policy that they passed tonight is specifically for all 7th graders and all 9th graders in the district.
7th through 9th.
7th through 9th. 7th, 8th, and 9th graders.
Okay, so and that's the age really where kids need to start learning how to ask for help or ask for what they need and speaking up for themselves.
And again, going back to the point I was making before, just take, for example, the phenomenon of school shootings. How many mental health services were there in the schools in the 1950s? Little to none. In fact, you literally have to go back not even 60 years to when mental health services were almost unheard of in the schools.
Yeah.
And what else was completely unheard of and unprecedented? School shootings.
Yep.
The first time in American history that we ever had a indiscriminate mass shooting where kids went in and just massacred their classmates for no apparent reason was Columbine in 1999.
Yeah.
And yet they're asking questions on the survey like, do you have any guns in the house? Well, guess what? Almost all houses had guns for the entirety of American history. And it wasn't until 1999 that some kid, they got them illegally, by the way, not from their parents, decided to start shooting up their classmates. And again, during that same time period and before, there's been an ever increasing involvement of mental health services in the schools while we've had more and more school shootings. So again, I go back to the analogy of the repairman, of the contractor. If you hired somebody to do a job and what they were supposed to address keeps getting worse, how are you going to consider that an inherent good that has to be supported by taxpayers, that people have to take the time and energy to opt out of instead of opt in? And that's what the basic facts that we need to be looking at. But instead, we're getting a bunch of anecdotal, emotional appeals where everybody turns their brain off, and that's what's sad.
Yeah, and absolutely. They're running over that fundamental barrier of the parents to be in charge of the child's choice, to get an evaluation done if warranted, if needed, if the child's requesting it, support, whatever the situation may be. That's where the school cannot come in and say, well, we're acting in like apprentice, and that is not how the law actually works, because it's being a fundamental right is something that's so foundational that comes inherently, like we became parents no matter how it through God, right? They were gifted to us. So that is not something they can ever interfere with. And because we haven't really known that on a deeper level until recently, they're running it over to the point where the parents are barely, we barely see parents in things. Like, we're the last one notified. They have the whole team. If they see, now we found a lot of stuff on Department of Education website, PA, and the US one, all connected to the CDC, like Mariana was saying earlier, and many 667 local education agencies alone, for various programs and reasons that are not clear. The parents are not being given full disclosure of what these assessments are. They're not allowed to see the questions. So that's unlawful. So they cannot make an informed decision. And if a distracted, busy parent doesn't opt their child out, and that child takes that survey, and then a red flag is sent up because you have Sec 2A in your home as an inherent right too. And they want to, if they see a controversy, that's what they look for. They look for controversies in families that are struggling, that are going through things, and they see the vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, a lot of these programs are to prey on that and not really help it.
Yeah.
So the full disclosure, though, has to be in place because it's considered like a medical procedure. So that is a no-go. You do not get to bypass that exactly and fundamentally. So they're breaking this law, their own laws here, and they're breaking the fundamental laws that they can't ever cross. So it inherently is null and void. If you really want to wrap it all up in a nice bow.
Yeah.
Simply.
Besides all the other things that we talked about, clearly from this document right here, which if you're just listening to the episode, I brought back up the 20 U.S. Code 1232H. That's the one I read earlier. And it goes against all of this. So it's
correct.
They can't be doing it. That's the law. More importantly than anything else, I want to make sure
we have the inherent right to privacy. We do. Yeah.
I want to make sure that everybody understands more than anything else is that it's against the law. That's more than anything else.
All of them.
You can agree or disagree on the mental health situation in schools. You can agree or disagree on the way to go about solving it. But you can't disagree that having the kids fill out forms that their parents haven't okayed is illegal. It is illegal. That's just the way it is. So that's the end of that particular part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So what they did, and now what they did tonight, they basically, the school board okayed this form.
Correct.
Now, and there's way more to it than that, but yeah.
24 pages in total.
Yeah, this is just the top page, everybody. I want to be clear. There's many more pages. This is just the one of the pages. Okay, this is not all of the questions. Just one of the pages. But that's what's going on here. Them, even the school board, even voting that this is okay, isn't that against the law here? Right?
Listen, Janice, and correct me if I'm wrong, Denise. We contacted the school board and we broke this down to them with the law, the inherent rights, everything. Okay, on a mother of all emails. Okay, we got some nasty replies back from some school board members. You guys guessed their names. And they just ignored it. And it's quite concerning because, like I stated before, we have a school board majority that are getting absolutely nothing done outside of listening to the clown circus and giving them everything they want and not even reading. Listen, they were ready to pass this last week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Denise. They were ready to pass this last week without even reading the contents of this evaluation.
I'm a witness, 100%. That's what they were going to do.
That's
they were just going to sign off without reading.
Without even reading it.
In previous episodes, we said that we were going to hold, the Boiling Point podcast was going to hold these conservative school board members because now the parents and people brought the Boiling Point podcast in. So we're in it now. And if these conservative school board members aren't going to do what they were elected to do, then we will expose them and I will call them out this right here, the fact that they approved this tonight with this law pretty clear. And the vote was unanimous, Denise?
Chrissy didn't say if it was a unanimous vote.
Brenda Cox said no.
Brenda Cox said no. Okay.
The only one that said no.
Wow.
So one person said no out of seven school board members, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
No, nine school board members.
And we're supposed to have a five member majority.
We're supposed to, yes, the conservatives are supposedly have a 5-member majority, and
that
one
means
person
Kelly Brent voted for this then.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Kelly
and Heidi was pretty against it from what we understood, correct?
Right, but Heidi was impressive today.
Oh, okay.
But she was against it.
So she wasn't there to vote by phone or anything?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
I'll say
how does that happen? Just a very quick sidebar, just for the sake, so we understand the process. What happens when a school board member is not there? How is a vote handled?
They just count the votes that are there. Now if they would have had a 4-4 tie, then I guess it would have had to been tabled to the next week. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Okay.
But they have 9 members, so they have an odd number for that reason. But yeah, if they don't have all the members there, if they still have at least 5 votes, it's going to pass regardless.
So as long as 5 votes can be counted, a majority, as long as they can have a majority that votes in the affirmative, that's all that matters. So right. Just for an example, if 5 members, and we can't really differentiate between conservative and non-conservative members at this point. So if just any 5 members showed up and they all voted for something, the other 4 members are just basically SOL. They're just out of the vote. Now that can be
if all 5 voted unanimously together, yes.
Okay. But then they also don't get a chance to speak, the other school board members, because they're not there. So they I
don't really know. I don't want to make it.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, absolutely. We don't want to say the wrong information.
Yeah, their procedural stuff is in the Robert's Rules of Orders.
About the 5, the scenario you put forward too. But I just know that as long as they have at least 5 members voting on something, it will pass. I've never seen a school board meeting where only 5 of them showed up. So I'm not sure how that.
But you know that even if some don't show up, as long as they have the 5. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you were there to vote or not. As long as you have the 5.
And Jonathan, you know what else is concerning about this? As I was researching the company that they're using, right? I also researched any complaints on the company. So unfortunately, this company, the platform that they use, the system that they have, and the questions that they have, it is what it is. So it's not as though, let's say, the school board can say, well, let's remove these questions. They can't. Because their platform, their format, so they claim, does not allow it. Do I believe that does not allow it? No. What I believe is that because they are reporting to the CDC and it goes down to the WHO, they cannot or they will not remove those questions. So so there's no compromise here. Okay. Yeah. So we're not seeing the survey. The information that I got was a research that I did myself.
Yeah.
As we can see, the questions are out of line. It goes against the PPRA, and they pass it. And we have a majority, really? A majority of what?
I want to be clear. I'm sorry, Casey, just one second. I just want to be clear that these questions that we're seeing on the form here on the visual right here we got this because of Mariana's research. It was not given to her from the school board or anything like that. It was she got it from research that she had done. It was not given to her or given to us. It was from research that she had done on her own. So I just want to be clear that they did not even release the forms to the parents or anything. Like there's been
they denied that request through a right to know. We couldn't see it.
Yeah, and I was asking Mariana about that off screen, and she said it's because the form never existed, which means the school never even made a form for parents to sign for this form to be even anything within the school. So
correct. That's where the full disclosure is missing, and that's not lawful.
So the school board is violating the law right now. The superintendent is violating the law right now. The entire West Shore School District is basically violating the law right this second.
100%
in real time because it's happening. It's happened while we were shooting this episode. So, and just on Casey, I want to say something because you said about, if we're shooting another night. If you guys ever need to cancel on me because of school board stuff, please don't ever hesitate. So I just want to make sure that you guys all know, and any of the other parents that work with the Boiling Point podcast, if you can't make something because of a vote or because you have to be somewhere because of what's going on, please just
it would have been too late anyhow, because by the time I realized it
seemed to be thrown together very last minute. I didn't even know. Mariana messaged me today and she's like, they're having a vote tonight. And I'm like, what do you mean it's a Friday night? There's no school board meetings on a Friday
but in all fairness, we were going to do the podcast either way, because a lot of the conservative parents have stopped going to these meetings. What for? Okay, they allow us to speak 4 minutes. Okay, and okay, thank you, and that's it. Now they allow the other group, the woke group, and correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, to yell and scream at them. The meeting will go out to 4 hours, okay, and they're insulting everybody, and they allow it. But
yes, they do. We can barely speak though.
Express a concern, and they're shutting us down. Okay, so they're like, okay, well, we need support from the conservative parents. What do you want them there for? To give them 4 minutes and still do whatever the flip you want to do?
Yeah. And so you know what? That's the thing about conservative. Go ahead, Casey.
22, because as I was going to say before, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And obviously the school board is partially to blame for that, as Mariana pointed out, by encouraging one side to be squeaky, the wrong side, and not the other one. The other one is, quite frankly, the laziness of our side. And I know I'm beating a dead horse here because I've addressed this before, but it's like pulling teeth to get people involved. The reason why somebody like Adam Trone can get away with putting something foolish online, saying it's only 5 parents, even though he's way off base, he can make it. He actually looks credible to most people because that's all they see. You only see about 5 parents ever express concerns in the right direction at the school boards, while you see a whole mob of people on the other side, even though the overall perspective of the district's residents and parents don't feel that way. I mean, even in my own town of New Cumberland, it's split right down the middle, right, politically. But if you go onto any of the communities, like Facebook pages, like Neighbors in New Cumberland, anytime something political is barely mentioned, you'll see a whole, like, hundreds of commentaries from left-wing, extremists, and maybe 2 or 3 conservative comments. So you have a community split, like, right down the middle. But if you judged the community by the comments on those issues on their Facebook pages, you would think New Cumberland Borough had the same politics as Seattle or Portland. Okay, but that's a problem in the school district too. And again, I'm beating a dead horse here, as I mentioned before. It's because they are so active and our side is not. I've talked to so many people about the concerns we have, and they share it, and they're like cheering us on. Yeah, you go get them. You go do this. I need you to get involved, sir, man. But they won't.
Exactly. We need people to come out and speak up with us.
We've been saying on the Boiling Point podcast that
unfortunately, it's going to be tough in next year's elections. I'm not going to shy away from it. It's going to be very tough because they have all the money, all the power, all the organization on the other side. Just like on a national level, we're kind of a microcosm of that. And as one friend of mine recently said, we caught the ed establishment, or how do you put it, the ed complex or whatever, off guard last time. They're going to be ready next year, and believe me, they will be. And if we don't have candidates for these races, which we still don't at this point, and if people, the only one we have that we've supported, Kelly Brent's going to vote the wrong way and not give people to motivation to support her on our side, it's going to be a bloodbath, and I'm fearing at this point that it will be, because if you keep giving into the other side, they're still going to hate you. They're going to still come out with the long knives, and you demoralize people on our side from wanting to support you. What's that going to end up in? And if they sweep all 4 races next year, they get the majority back. And that's if we even have a majority now, which is questionable.
I do want to make a comment on this also. It's not that the conservative parents are looking for favoritism or for things to be done their way. No. All the conservative parents are requesting for is for everything to be done legal.
Yeah.
For the PA statutes to be respected and followed. For them to understand that parents have inherent rights that they have been trampling on for the longest. Okay, that is what they're requesting. And in speaking about a little bit what my husband was saying, people are scared, still scared to come out and speak, okay, because of the mobs that show up, because they don't want their businesses canceled, okay, because they don't want their house egged. My house has been egged a couple times, okay, because they don't want things to, to that effect, or their children, pointed it out. But they are in the back, is what I call underground warriors, still fighting and doing everything that they can. Now, they have select few people, Denise, me, Ashley, Christy, that they call, okay, and we are their mouthpiece. Please present this. Please give my name. So for Adam Strong to say something as stupid, and yes, I use the word stupid, that is only 5 parents, well, he needs to wake up and drink the coffee. Because I don't want to say what I really wanted to say, but he needs to wake up and drink the coffee and realize that he is a failure as a school board member, and he does not have parental rights. Okay, it's not one of his priorities, and he does not and will never speak for the conservative parents. And unfortunately, the 5 that we do have is also failing us. And so, you want the parents to back you up, but you keep failing them. It's failure over failure over failure.
And they won't listen to what we're giving them. That we give them all the information, do the research for them, and break it down, make it simple, and they're still not reading it.
Yeah, and that's
what
it takes time and dedication. And Casey, I wanted to say something about what you said real quick. You talked about the election next year, and you're concerned about it because everybody's kind of maybe demoralized because these people that we you guys finally got the majority, and they're not acting the way that they're supposed to. But see, the difference between the last election and this election is that you got the Boiling Point podcast on your side this time. So all you need is for candidates. All you need to do is find the candidates, and we'll take care of the rest. Better candidates maybe though. And I say that to the supposed conservative candidates on the school board right now, because if you're not going to one vote for this, clearly the law is right here. It's right here. Right there it is. Okay. I read it out loud. If you're not watching this episode, go back and listen to it again. I read the law. It's right there.
And it's not
the fact that there was only one vote that voted against this, being that the law is pretty clear, and I'm not a constitutional lawyer or studied the law or in law school. It's pretty clear what that says. So the fact that only one school board member voted against it is very, very disconcerting. And I'm supposed to have Kelly Brent on an episode coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I can assure you that after this, that episode has taken a pivot. And if she wants to come on and talk about her stuff, she's going to be talking about this nonsense too.
I do believe we should give her the chance to give her side and her perspective, but I'm not going to say, I'd be lying if I didn't say I was disappointed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll give her.
She already voted, so
that's what I'm saying. We'll give her the chance to talk, but if she wants to talk about her stuff, we're going to talk about this.
Absolutely. And it's not just about what they've done tonight. It's what hasn't been done as well. As my wife alluded to earlier, now we don't expect them to solve all the problems in a year. That would be completely unreasonable. I mean, the previous school boards have been making messes for the last 20 years, and it's a lot easier to make a mess than to clean one up. So of course they're not going to be able to solve all the problems in a year, but at least they should take some steps in the right direction, and they haven't done anything. All they did was of consequence was replace the solicitor, which was a good move. But that's it. I mean, but as far as the curriculum, the CRT, the DEI, the SEL, all this stuff is still in full force, and if anything, is getting worse.
How long have they had? I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. But how long have they had the majority? When were the last elections?
This year. That's it.
This year?
Just this year, because last year's elections flipped the board. As of last year, at this time, we still had eight hardcore leftists on the school board and only one conservative. They've had a complete monopoly on the school board for a long time. I mean, for at least a decade or more. But yeah, we just
flipped it. So it was this year that flipped it.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Heidi Thomas was the only conservative on the board last year. She got reelected last year. And then 4 of the leftists, Judy Krasinski, Kapranos, Moyer,
Frank Hambick.
Frank Hambick resigned, and Adam Trone got his spot. But those 4 got replaced. Judy Krasinski, Moyer, Kapranos, and Stolzenberg. Mm-hmm. Those were the 4 leftists that got unseated in last year's elections by Kelly Brent, Brenda Cox, Mandy Davis, and David Britton. Okay. They're the ones that were the newly elected school board members.
So they've only been in office for a short time. So again, as Casey was just saying, it's not that we want you to change things overnight, but if you're not going to do things legally, then that's a big red flag. Like if you're gonna you replace the solicitor, that's great. That's one thing. But now you just voted yes on something that is clearly against the law. That's what kind of sense does that make? That's what we're talking about. You can do some good things, but if you do some really dumb things that are clearly like you clearly are, what is this?
No, I would give the
best of something that's illegal. How do you make that decision? That's where I'm still stuck at. How
exactly. And again, I can chalk some of it up to inexperience because again, they were all new to the game. And even Heidi, she never had experience as president. So they got rolled in many ways, but there was just no fighting spirit. I mean, now Kelly Brent, that's why her vote tonight surprised me. She was the only one who was really a warrior throughout most of the year, while the other ones kind of just sat in the background and let her take all the arrows. Now she's caving. So we don't know what to make of this.
I'm going to push back on you on one point there, Casey, because I don't believe, because you said they're new and they don't know. Ignorance is not an acceptable response, in my opinion. Not when you're serving the public, not when the public is providing you with the information that you need to do your job. Then it's just plain laziness or ignorance or willful ignorance. So that's what's going on here in the West Shore School District.
And Jonathan, if I may interject one thing here, the other thing that was denied to us was, as taxpayers, and we all know that the West Shore School District is $15.1 million in the red. So we want to know how much the software that they're going to use is going to cost. Okay. So that was denied in the right to know also. However, Tosto said, and I think it was Dr. Bud, was it Denise, that it was going to be $1 per child, just $1 per child that participate. Okay. Well, but what they didn't tell you was that was only if the whole school registered. Okay. In reality, the package is going to be $7,500 plus, not $1 per child. And this is also another reason why they're doing it opt out versus opt in, because he said himself that when they do things opt in, parents do not opt in their children. So of course it's less money and less thing that they less revenue that they have to they will receive. So that's why they're doing it opt out. It's another way of selling our kids. Now, in reference to the school board, I do want to make one thing clear. Like I stated before, they were ready to pass this without reading it, even though we broke it down for them. Denise has many times offered, because she's our constitutional guru, to help them, to read this, understand these laws, understand these statutes. You hear crickets, crickets. Now, the only member that I must say, and I have to say it, that will read is Mandy Davis. And she will ask correct questions, and she has stopped some things from actually, taking place. That's why I am surprised that even she said yes to this mental health thing. I mean, because I know she reads. The others, by the most part, don't. Okay, they're too busy with other things, which I understand. Yeah,
we're all busy. Yeah,
busy. But if you took this position, we trusted you with this position. Do your job. You're supposed to be our voice and represent everybody. So we have a 5-board majority, but Region 1, where I live, still does not have a school board member that represents the conservative voice. I have a communist and 2 libtards. That's what we have in Region 1. So who is representing the voice of the parent? None of them.
No, they're all representing the loudest voice. And as we've said prior to the election, the national election, and even after I said it after the election, the loudest people are clearly not the majority. So the people who are elected in office need to get their heads, and I'll say it a little bit more bluntly for you, Mariana. The people need to get their heads out of their ass and start paying attention, because we are in the majority. The national election just clearly stated what this country's values are. Okay. Now, local is different than national, of course, but from everything that I've seen, the people in the minority are the liberals. They're just making the most noise, making the most trouble, and that's what they're doing. That's what they do best. That's what they do best. Casey touched on it, how they're good at organizing. They're good at organizing when they're attacked. If they weren't being attacked, they're actually not any good at organizing than we are. But when they get attacked, they all come together because they have to shout the loudest and they have to feel righteous and point the finger at other people and say that they're wrong and you're wrong. So we do need to get better with that. And I do think our side is good at it. But if our representatives don't represent the people the way that they're supposed to, then I think our side does get not demoralized. Like where it's like, okay, well, then I'm just going to shut up. Next election, we'll find new people and hope that they do better. But we do have to keep pushing it. I've been saying that in the Boiling Point podcast for a while. Now's the time to stand up. Now's the time to make your voice heard and to push forward. There is no more later. We're out of later. We need to do it now. I don't care if Trump won the presidency and, some other conservatives won national elections and the state elections and stuff. Even at the local level now, you have to get involved and you have to make your voice heard. If you're a parent, then you better get involved quick.
And it's at the local level.
It's part of our duty.
More consequence on you personally than even the national level.
That's the other thing.
Especially referring to schools and our kids, what happens in local school board races is more effective and more important than anything that happens on the national and even the state level.
Yeah,
and that's why these are very important. And we know that next year's school board elections are going to look a lot like this year's congressional race in our district. You couldn't. Now they're not going to be on social media as much, but you couldn't even watch a single video on YouTube without seeing 10 hit pieces on Scott Perry. Now he pulled through, thank God, but he was outspent about 12-1 in this election. And that's the same thing's going to happen in the West Shore School Board election next year. So they got to give a reason for the conservatives to vote for him, not just say, vote for me because I'm me. That does not work with what they're going to be facing.
Yep, and it is an off-year election too, which always makes it harder to get people out to the polls to get out to vote. So that'll be difficult too. But we'll obviously, assist you with that. Make sure we keep getting the words out. And to anybody who's running for a school board, please hit us up. We'd be happy to have you on and showcase you in your own episode, liberal or conservative. If you're a liberal, be prepared to defend your position. If you're a conservative, be prepared to defend your position. Just want to make sure everybody's clear on the rules before they start hitting me up. But I would love to have you on the show.
Big out of limb prediction here, John. You're not going to get any liberals in your program.
This is free. Oh, I know. You have no idea. I reach out all the time. I get people that message me and I'm like, you want to come on an episode? Like just normal people that leave a comment. And I'm like, come on an episode. I was like, but be prepared to talk intelligently and not just yell and scream, or I'll just keep you muted. And I control this studio. I can take people out whenever I want and then talk, about the topic instead of you. But and anybody running, come on, I'd be happy to showcase you and anybody who's currently on the school board. If you want to come on, if you're running again, if you want to come on, then change your voting habits. Because if you come on my episode now, I'm going to hold you accountable at this point.
And the only one running again next year that we helped get elected, the one that we supported is Kelly Brent. She's the only one. The other three seats are Brian Geistwait's, Brian Geistwait's, Abigail Tierney's, and Chris Cambick's, or is it Frank Cambick?
No, Chris.
Well, hopefully we can get some conservatives
Abigail Tierney and Brian Geistwait. Their three seats are up for re-election next year, and they're three people we'd oppose. The only one we helped get in that we want to see getting re-elected, even though she really disappointed us tonight, is Kelly Brent.
Yes, Kelly Brent. And I think we are still planning to do an episode. I believe that's still going to be happening next couple of weeks, sometime before Christmas, definitely. But with the new developments, we are going to talk about these new developments with her. If she's going to come on and wants to talk about her message, then we're going to talk about ours as well.
Now, there's one more thing I wanted to fill you in. Denise, if I am correct, the statute says that the teachers and administration cannot do anything that will alienate the kids' affection towards the parents. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. That being stated, we have another issue in the schools going on. And this is streaming down from the elections. Okay. That I also made the school board aware. If they're going to do anything about it, I don't know. We'll see. So Cedar Cliff High School has gone unhinged. Okay. So we have a 9th grade social study teacher, okay, that after the elections was speaking to the children against the parents and the that supported Trump or voted for Trump. Okay, do you know how that? Tell me that's not bullying.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me that cannot create a mental health issue.
Yeah, and
maybe we should send that teacher to get that evaluation. What you think?
Teachers shouldn't be, even if they get involved in politics, and politics is something kids should be learning about. And I think they should be learning about it at a much younger age to get more involved and to understand more of it as they do get older. But of course, we got to have the right teachers doing that. If you're going to have teachers who are going to cry and whine and do things like that because they lost a free and fair election, that's the other thing we got to bridge the gap. Like, with the stuff with the 2020 election, there was a lot of controversy there, and I'm not willing to yield that the Democrats won that, but there was a transfer of power. There is going to be another transfer of power here. We have to realize that the politics is not the be all end all, that sometimes in politics you lose, and that when you lose, you try hard the next time to get your people to win. That's it. But when you lose, it's not a time to just shut down government. It's not just a time to shut down everything. Oh, well, I didn't win, so I'm just going to choose not to play, or I'm going to choose not to vote, or not to do any of this, or not to participate. We have too much of that. Or the teachers attacking their students because their parents maybe voted a certain way. That's ridiculous too. Teachers shouldn't be taking their personal politics into the classrooms.
I recently had to have a conversation with the principal at Cedar Cliff High School. Now, I'm not going to give the name of the teacher on here. They know who they are. She knows who she is. I'm even going to put the gender out there and the real one. We had a teacher that I had to address the principal with the high school about, and then we just found out about it recently, but this occurred last year, who said to one of my kids in front of the whole class that my wife and I are the most, quote, transphobic parents in the West Shore School District. Yeah. So, I addressed that. And I told the principal, look, I'm willing to have a dialogue and debate, in her classroom with her anytime she wishes, and she can voice her opinions. And believe me, I've had many indirect and inadvertent arguments with the teachers through my kids because they come home almost every day with some nonsense they heard in one of their classes. And now a lot of parents would take issue with that, and rightfully so. I just kind of put tongue in cheek, but I just give my kids the truth. Now that's one thing. But when you just blatantly say something derogatory about a parent to a student in front of other kids, that's crossing many lines. And even the principal, who I happen to know is a hardcore lefty, even he agreed with me on that. Not to mention that the word, and I'm not going to get on this rabbit trail, but transphobic is an oxymoronic tautology. It's like most phobes and isms. They are artificial constructs created by people to just call somebody a name instead of intelligently debate an issue. Nobody's afraid of transvestites. I don't know anybody who jumps behind a desk and hides if they see a transvestite walking down the street. Transphobia, get out of here.
And when we talk about the stuff here on the Boiling Point podcast, it's not about hate. It's not about, singling people out or condemning people. It's about speaking truth. And, it's about love. It's about we want these people to get help. You know what I mean? We want them to get help, not to stay sick. We don't want anybody to stay sick. We want them to get help. So it's not about phobia. It's that we're concerned for them and their mental health. That's what it is.
Yeah, because I also believe that bestiality, incest, and stealing and murder and rape are all wrong. So I guess I'm a rapophobe, a homophobe,
you are
a bestiaphobe. I mean, how stupid are those terms?
How can you be a murderophobe? How can you be a murderophobe? That's ridiculous. No, but that's it. That's exactly it. You brought up the point, the extremism about it. That's exactly what it's about, though. It's about, oh, well, you don't agree with me, so you're a this
or an ism. Phobes and isms. I've told Mariana, I think we should make and I don't know how to do it. I'm not a good artist or lyrics for a writer for a song. I was thinking about taking that old song from the one Rudolph the Reindeer episode where he sings silver and gold, isms and phobes, and make a parody like that.
Yeah, that might be a parody. Let me I'll see what I can do. All right, anything else you guys want to discuss before we close out this episode? Denise?
We are going to do a part 2 on this one. Is that what
I'm going to keep.
Did we talk about that?
we didn't discuss it specifically, but I will be,
Okay.
we are going to continue the West Shore School District coverage. And after we're done with this episode, hang around for a minute and I'd be happy to chat with you when and where, if you would like to discuss that tonight. But yes, we are going to obviously, we'll continue to follow up with this. We're not going anywhere. The Boiling Point podcast is not going anywhere, despite that we have not had the regular content that we have in previous years after our summer breaks. But that's because we're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes as well as in front of the camera. We're trying to advance the Boiling Point podcast cause, and that takes a lot of work behind the camera, not just in front of the camera. Content is great and all that, but if you're not advancing the business side of it, then all we have here is a show. And the Boiling Point podcast, we're trying to make more than just a show. So that's why we do a lot of things behind the scenes. We're advancing a lot of stuff. The website will be up hopefully just after Thanksgiving. And next year, we'll likely be doing hopefully some trade shows. So if you're in the Pennsylvania or Northeast area, come to some shows. You might see us in the next year. That's one of the things that we're going to be doing in the next year. And that's what we've been doing this year, the website and getting things set up for future things that are going to help us continue to grow the show as well. So that's where we've been. That's what's going on. We'll continue to cover the West Shore School District. Pastor Gavin will continue to come on to do episodes. The Old Testament survey will be back on before Christmas, and we'll be finishing the Old Testament survey this time because we're doing all the episodes first. So that'll be completely, once we start that again, that'll be going until the end. And of course, our storefront, bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point podcast. Pick yourself up some apparel. Can't see it very well. I don't. We are in the small box today, but I have my Second Amendment. We were talking about the Second Amendment earlier, and I have the Second Amendment apparel on tonight.
Here you go. Hold on.
Check that out and check out.
John.
What do you got there? Oh, there it is. They have one of their own. How about that?
Nice.
Here's the front. I'm sorry. Here's
I like
the
that.
front.
Yeah, bring it back to the middle. There you go. The Second Amendment. We got the American Cross. That's Boiling
Love
Point
it.
Podcast exclusive design. The American Cross with Second.
Here's the back.
And on the back, it says it has the full text of the Second Amendment with the Boiling Point Podcast lettering logo on the bottom. So visit our storefront and pick yourself up some of that. It looks really great in the blue. I have one in the, it's more gray than it is black, but we have black, we have gray, we have a couple other colors. Check it out. It looks really good in the blue. I did not think it was going to look that good in the blue.
And it's great quality. I'll tell you that. Great quality.
That is the other thing about our storefront is that it is great quality. You do pay a little bit more on our storefront than you do on other people's storefronts. It is a little bit pricier, but the quality is going to be substantially better than other storefronts that you're going to visit. I have my original Boiling Point podcast shirt, and it's going on over 5 years now, and it's still great. It's just now started to show a little bit of wear and fade. So I can assure you that shirt has had hundreds and hundreds of washes. So these shirts have great quality. They last a long time. So go and pick yourself some up, support the show, because all the money we get from the storefront goes to continuing our cause, whether it's our costs or taking on new things. That's where the money from the storefront goes, is right back into the show. So help us out and share it out. You don't have to buy something. Go visit our social media. We're on Facebook. Our channels are on Rumble and YouTube. All you have to do is share it out if you can't buy something from our storefront. A share is just as good as a t-shirt sale, in my opinion. So please go visit our episodes and share them out. Leave a comment. Get involved. Hit us up if you'd like to be on an episode. If you are a parent from another school district and you're having problems within your school district, reach out to us at the Boiling Point Podcast, and we will be happy to help you get involved and help you navigate that situation.
Quick question, John.
Well. Yeah,
have you ever heard from anyone from the Northern School District?
No one from any other school district has reached out to the page or to me directly yet.
I might try to contact some people there who are friends of ours, not only who are very active parents, but I know the president of their school board. He's a good guy. It would be awesome if any of them could come on your podcast, because they would have a lot of success stories. They flipped that school board a few years ago, and the conservative majority on that school board has just been phenomenal. So it would be great to have them on your program to tell people how it's been done and how they can get it done in other school districts. I can see what I can do on my end about reaching out to what? She said not to give the names, but we're reaching out to the parents I know or the school board or the president and see if they'd be willing to talk to you, because they could actually have some uplifting good news, and then, you know, give a good, inspiring lesson on how to get it done. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'd be happy to have anybody from any school board. So if you guys know anybody, or the parents in the West Shore School District know any other parents, whether it's success or they're struggling with something, have them reach out to the page. We'd be happy to get involved, because we've also noticed that us getting involved in the West Shore School District was really good, not just because we're a new company. I'm a new journalist, so it's been quite the learning experience for me to try and unravel this and follow it and track it, and how to make episodes and write it out. It's been an amazing learning experience, invaluable. But the other reason is, the reason I really got invested after I first got involved was because I saw how the local newspapers and the local stations aren't covering it at all, like at all. Their coverage is crap. So that's the other reason we got involved, and I'm happy to get involved on the local scene. It doesn't have to just be the national. Local, like Casey was saying, a lot of stuff happens. A lot more stuff really happens at the local level than at the national level. So that's the other thing we've been trying to do, is get involved at the local level. That's why you haven't seen as many national stories that we used to do and stuff like that, because we are getting more involved, trying to find people who want to talk to us and have us help or give their success stories or whatever. So we've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes to continue to grow the Boiling Point podcast. So we're not going anywhere, even if we're a couple weeks or a month or two without an episode. We're not going anywhere. We're just busy working. So stay tuned to us, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. All of our episodes are on Rumble. That's where you can find all of our episodes in their entirety. And we're working on the website. Look for it just after Christmas. If you can follow me on Twitter at the Boiling Point Podcasts, I believe it is. It's in the description of the video. All the links are in the description of this video. For Denise and Casey and Mariana Reed, until our next episode on the West Shore School District, look for it in a couple of weeks. I am your host, JD. That's the end.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.